How's it going, everyone? So, a little heads up on this episode. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty on my end for this recording, so it's gonna sound a little rough, but after a little bit of editing, I was able to get it to the best quality I could. I do apologize ahead of time because I really did not want to trash this episode. It was a very enjoyable conversation I had with Joey from No Inner Monologue. And, honestly, I hope it sounds as good as I hope. On top of that, I'm happy to announce that we'll be getting a couple new people coming up in the next couple of weeks due to my Reddit post a couple days ago. And I've been having to schedule a bunch of people and their topics of careers they've had and different things have been enjoyable. I've already recorded 2 of them from the time of the release of this episode. So yeah, it's gonna be a blast. I'm really looking forward to this next couple of weeks and months. So, let's get on with the show. And welcome to another episode of the Convoluted Podcast. My name is Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and today we have Joey from No Inner Monologue. Hey Joey, how you doing?
Hey Jesus, how's it going, man?
Alright, so tell the people a little bit about you and your podcast.
Well, as your listeners would know, you've had my 3 other cohorts on the show in the past. No Inner Monologue is just pretty much a podcast of the random. We pretty much pick a topic every week, and we sort of talk about it. We try to be informative, but that's more often not the case because the 4 of us are quite ridiculous, and we try to make each other laugh, and we tend to rip on Manny quite a bit, although this month has been a little bit rough. With our little donation to charity, because none of us wants to be the one that, rips on Manny so much that we just donate a lot of money, but we want to donate some money. So it's a bit of that. We're teetering on that line there.
Yes, I'm a big fan of your guys' podcast, and I listen to it.
Thank you very much. Very happy to hear that. Yeah, Tash is, I think, the front runner with, close to 30, maybe. I don't even know. I lost count. I think the last episode we did just before Christmas, Dwayne and I tried to catch ourselves up to at least $20 so we can feel somewhat charitable during this holiday season.
I really enjoyed that. When that little thing that you guys started doing, because I don't know, your guys' content I really enjoyed since you guys get a different topic every once in a while, and
yeah, we try to keep it a little bit fresh, right?
Yes, and that's what's good. And since your guys is kind of, I think I've told everyone else the same thing, is your guys' topics of choice really resonate well with my own, so it's really easy to relate, surprisingly.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. It's always good to have someone say something that they understand, they get what we're going for.
So yeah.
Or at least connect with us in some way.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's been, me personally, I've been having fun talking with you guys individually. This is the second time talking with you, but the first time one-on-one.
Yes. I was on with you when you had myself, Dwayne, and Manuel on. So Manuel, it seems like, is star to your podcast. I think he's done 2 or 3 episodes or something like that.
He's on 3, and he's trying to worm his way in for a 4th.
Don't let it happen. That's how you get sucked in.
Yeah, because if I remember right, both Dwayne and Tash told me that it was originally you and Joey that were trying to start up a podcast beforehand,
Dwen and I, yes. This happened a while back, so I don't know if Dwen told you about it. Did he say much about it?
Just briefly about some of the concepts you guys were trying to debate on.
Okay, so the way it started out was I had I don't know if you remember earlier on in our episodes we had Brock on. Do you remember Brock, right? He was
Yes.
on our
Yeah.
Canada Day episode. He helped us
Yes.
early on with like the production value and all that stuff, basically sort of giving me a refresher because I, like Brock, went to broadcast school, so I have a bit of a background in audio recording and all that stuff, right? So
Okay.
anyways,
Cool.
he and I had a short-lived podcast called Hey Topanga, which was where we would watch old episodes of Boy Meets World and sort of talk about it. We got Brock and I think got
Okay.
up to about season 3 or so, right? It was very labor intensive, and Brock and I's schedules got way too busy for us to continue it. And then we sort of went our own way, sort of thing. Brock ended up being on Rebel Scum, which, if you haven't checked it out, and if you're a big Star Wars fan, I say check it out. I put it under the family and the umbrella of No Inner Monologue, just because it's out of the same place. It's got the same people behind it, the same sort of. It's a fun podcast. They're pretty good. They don't really need the plug, but you never know. They're on YouTube, I believe, and I'm not sure of any other platforms right now. But anyways, Dwayne heard about this, and so he's like, "Oh, dude, I have so many ideas for podcasts." And he and I are like, "Okay." So Dwayne and I bounced some ideas back and forth. I had one idea where I wanted to watch Bill Murray movies, like every single Bill Murray movie in succession, and then talk about it. Dwayne's like, "That's a great idea, but it's, again, another labor-intensive thing." Right? I had these grandiose ideas. Right? So anyways, keep the story going here. Dwayne came up with this great idea because he sort of listened to it and he liked the idea that like Beautiful Anonymous had, where it would just be conversations with people, right? And it would be a different guest each episode and all that. So Dwayne and I came up with the episode, the show So Tell Me, and we would have people on and talk about their what's going on with them. I mean, Dave was on that show. You remember Dave Kid, as
Yes.
I like to call him, good friend of mine. I think he's been on your show too, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah. Wow, you're poaching everybody, coming to me last. I see how it is.
You're the hardest to get a hold of.
I know I'm the worst. I'm just joking around. Don't worry. But yeah. So, anyways, so we had Dave on there, but our most, I don't know about interesting, but the most fun we had doing that show were the episodes we did with Manny and Tash. Now the only thing why that show didn't really get off the ground as well as we did, we maybe got about 4 or 5 episodes in the bag, but the problem was it just kept becoming a bit more of a hassle just getting people, right? And getting guests all the time and stuff. And you know it exactly, right? You end up having to work out and do a lot more creative things to get yourself new guests and new content,
Yes, I do.
which is a daunting task in itself, let alone promoting and, getting your shit out there, right?
That is.
So
Yep, that is true.
we thought, why not just have a show where it's just the 4 of us, and yes, we'll have guests on from time to time, and we'll try to get things going and all that stuff, but just have a show where it's just the 4 of us and we just talk about whatever. I mean, the 4 of us are pretty good conversationalists. There's a good dynamic. I mean, I think you've even said in the past there's a good chemistry between the 4 of us and all that. And so that's how this show was sort of birthed, so to speak, right? It's all stems from that older endeavor that Dwayne and I had together to build a different show, and it just sort of grew into what is now the No Inner Monologue podcast. And quality of recordings are better now and all that other stuff, right? So it's growing, and it's a lot of fun to do, and I'm I'm real happy to be a part of it, and glad I've had a partner like Dwayne from the ground level to help me sort of. Dwayne has been the guiding of the ship, so to speak, right? Like he's got the focus and the sort of keeps me focused and in line, and he does it even, because we've played soccer together for years now, and he sort of does that to me too, keeps me refocused. And he's awesome for that, and I really appreciate him for that. So it's been a wild ride, and I hope the ride continues for a while, right? So yeah, that's how No Inner Monologue pretty much came to be.
Sweet, and I second that. I really enjoy your guys' stuff, and I look forward
It's
to even
awesome, man.
more.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, we're thinking we got to keep coming up with some more ideas for the next season, and I promise you we will get you on at least early in the new year for sure.
No,
It's
no
me
problem. No
working out
problem.
the kinks on my end to make sure the audio quality's better, right? Because I don't know if you heard the episodes from Manny calling
It's a
in
little
from
rough.
Aurelia. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's rough. So
it's rough.
um,
I get it. It's
we
hard.
we hardwired it into the actual mixing board and all that stuff, right? Because we're actually working off of mostly an analog as opposed
Oh,
to
okay.
yeah, a lot of it's a lot more. It's which helps with our audio recording, right? Like we have like proper mics and all this stuff, with the XLR cables and all that shit. We connect right into a mixing board, and we have a separate recorder. Like I don't have a laptop up when I'm recording. I'm literally recording it to a memory card, and then we're dumping it onto the computer. But
Nice.
so it's a little bit trickier. I have to work out the bugs. It's fairly easy now. It's just I think the major issue was we were working with Tash's tablet at the time, and I think it's a little bit. Manny's phone, I realized when he came back, we sort of did a test run, and his phone works a lot better with our setup than Tash's tablet did. So I think next time when we do have you on, we're going to work it through Manny's phone and be able to connect with you that way. So that should
All
be
right.
good. Yeah.
It's
So
a it's a time in progress. One
yeah,
day.
it's a working progress, right? And you're learning a lot as you go. I'm like I said, I'm relearning a lot of things because I've been out of that world for so long. Because I met Brock volunteering at Rogers TV. Now, what Rogers is a communications company here in Canada, but it also used to, specifically in the Greater Toronto area, used to have small, like, local television stations, like your local news and all that stuff, but they had small local stations, and it was run off of volunteers, a lot of it, right? So you got your broadcast work hours there, so you could do your co-op there and all that stuff, and that's where I met Brock, because we were both doing it. We were both there getting work hours for broadcasting around the same time.
Okay, so that's how you ended up meeting Brock. Interesting.
Yeah, which sort of led. I met Dwayne years ago because he and our paths almost crossed numerous times until finally I actually talked to him because it was funny enough on the soccer field, but I was invited to play a game of pickup soccer by a girl who I was very interested in, who was friends with Dwayne, and then I ended up getting closer to Dwayne than I did with that girl. So that's a different story.
That's
Yeah. So yeah.
that is cool. So that's a little bit. So anyone who's been listening and has been listening for a while, they've known I promoted you guys' stuff a lot.
Yeah,
And
we thank you for it, and we like I said before, anytime even real Jesus gets mentioned, we just tend to plug you instead. So
and I always find that humorous, and I sometimes just honestly just put my hand to my forehead and like, why guys, why? But
it's cringeworthy, isn't it?
yeah, it is. But it's
It's so
hilarious.
cringeworthy.
But so
Yeah.
that is No Inner Monologue for the most part. Its origin and what it is. So like I did with the others, This show is a little bit to promote yourself and kind of throw you.
Yeah, which is
So
awesome. Thank you very much.
Joey, tell me more about yourself.
Well, myself, really, I'm a big movie buff and all that. I watch a lot of movies. Actually, before we connected, I literally just finished watching The Godfather because I don't know if you know, AMC runs that thing like crazy this time of year. You watch like
Yes.
20 times over and over again. I just
Once
happened
a
to turn
year.
on TV. Yeah, I just happened to turn on TV and I caught it right at the beginning. I was like, well, this is happening. So.
No,
Yeah.
from listening to your guys' stuff, that is true. You seem to have a very extensive knowledge of films under your belt, especially when it comes to oh fuck, I can't remember. Give me a second. I can say this. Bond's movies.
Oh, Bond movies, don't even get me started with those. Yeah, I have seen every single Bond, including the 1960s spoof version of Casino Royale, which is a weird one, and it's the only reason why many people's multiple Bond theory exists is because of that movie, because that's the first time they ever sort of mention that there's more than one James Bond and that it's a code name and all that. And it's literally a plot device in a comedic stance for that film, which is why it's why I find it amusing that this theory exists altogether, because it's all based of a comedy from the 1960s.
Nice, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like with James Bond, it's like even with I've read pretty much, I have actually all of the old Fleming novels. I don't have original copies. I wish I had the original prints. That'd be amazing. But I've collected, each book over the years, right? And it's always the same guy and specific missions and all that, right? So, I mean, originally Bond is meant to be set in the 50s and 60s because he's a character that the writer Ian Fleming himself sort of fashioned from guys he had worked with and some guys and someone he wished he was during the Second World War, because in many respects Fleming was a desk jockey and he wanted to be out in the field doing all kinds of espionage spy stuff. And so this is the fantasy he came up with and he dreamed up. And this is the character that is James Bond.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and it's funny enough, like, sorry to go back on a Bond tangent. You brought this up, like I said. But he actually got the book from an ornithology book. So what ornithology is a study of birds, right? And it's called, I think it was Birds of the West Indies, written by James Bond, who was a ornithologist or whatever, and I think he had a back and forth with their family about it for years as like a friendly tit for tat about that, because he stole his name for the character.
That is awesome.
It was like a friendly back and forth, right? Nothing ever was malicious, but they'd always go back and forth and sort of talk about it after, he made it big with using that person's name.
That is some fun. That's a fun fact I did not know.
Oh yeah, no. When it comes to Bond, I know a little bit too much, and I've been told that.
No, it's always great to be passionate about something, be it franchise or the likewise.
Oh yeah, well, like I said, I'm with Bond the way a lot of people are with Star Wars, right? Like, read all the stuff and look into all like the movie history and stuff, but I am also just like that with most movies, right? Like, for example, with Scorsese, I don't know if you knew this, but Martin Scorsese, I think up until, well, at least until I don't even know if his mom's still alive, but he would try to have his mother in every one of his movies.
Really?
Yeah, so you know the scene in Goodfellas, right, where they're at Tommy's mom's house or whatever, right? The woman who plays Tommy's mom, Joe Pesci's mom, is Scorsese's mom in that
really?
scene. Yeah. So, and she has like little cameos in it as well. And Scorsese was also the kind of guy that would put himself in movies too. Like he has a scene in Taxi Driver. You've seen that one, right? You've seen Taxi
Yeah.
Driver, of course, right?
Yes.
That he's the man in the cab that's saying that really dark, awkward story about how he wants to kill his wife for cheating on him and all that shit, right? It was dark, and I can't remember it word for word, but yeah, that was Martin Scorsese, obviously, right? So he
Okay. I gotta pay more
and
attention.
Scorsese himself is like somebody who can tell you a film fact from like 100 years back, right? If you ever hear him if you ever watch him in interviews and stuff, he'll go off. The interviewer will ask a question. He'll go off on some sort of film history thing first, and then get into his answer and his connection to why he did it this way and that way and all that stuff, right? He's one of my favorite directors, and that's one of the things I like about him. And I sort of modeled, like, especially with movies and things like that, I sort of modeled myself behind that, and I'm always reading up on Hollywood stuff and like movies and how directors did it like this and that, right? I mean, it's really cool. So I always find it so interesting. So I'm half the time when I'm reading up on movies, I'm not looking for spoilers. I'm looking for like, what did the director do to get this shot or that and all that stuff. So that's what interests me, right?
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, because I have an interesting question for you then as for that. So recently, within the last couple of months, as watching films, I have been a little bit more critical with films for being films themselves. You know, instead of just being something you just sit back and just watch like numbly.
Right.
Would
You
you
want to know
s-
like what's going on with it, right?
Yeah. So, in your opinion, has this kind of not like not like this nitpicking, but more like an analytical point of view for films, has that changed your perspective on films, and has that been a positive or a negative? If you know what I'm
Here's the
saying.
thing, like, what do you mean by nitpicking? Like the way people are with superhero films?
No, just overall films in general.
Because I find that with a lot of I'm gonna be straight up, and your fan base will probably hate me for it, but I really like a lot of the DC movies that have come out, mainly just because I'm more of a DC fan, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Marvel movies, and I do recognize that they are better, but I still enjoyed the DC films. Here's the thing that I think about them, and this is a problem that a lot of fan people, right, like the people who are super fans and stuff like that, can't get around, is that they are nitpicky about certain things. I mean, except for Batman vs Superman, when they ruined the whole movie by giving you Doomsday in the trailer, and that was a big mistake. But in terms of like nitpickiness, I mean, I think we are getting a little bit too much on that. Because, like, I mean, look at it. Like, for example, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I mean, well, if that movie came out in the '80s, we would have loved it, right? But because the
Yes.
audience, we're much more jaded as an audience now in general, right? I mean, if you go looking at even the Star Wars films, why didn't the prequels? Well, they made as much money as the originals, but why weren't they as well received? We're a much more jaded audience now. I mean, we can't just sit back and enjoy a film either. And I find that's the case with all of us. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I'm not going to deny that. We get into this thing where we want to we expect too much of a film instead of just enjoy it for what it is. Right? I work towards trying not to get too analytical of films. Right? I mean, I just want to have fun sometimes, and when I go to a movie, I mean, I've yet to see Aquaman, but you know, I'm looking forward to it. Although, if you ask Manny, it's a piece of garbage. But I can't trust that guy's taste in films, anyways. That guy thinks Aquaman is bad is because Kevin Costner is not Aquaman.
Okay. Okay, that's his point. We'll see.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you get what I'm saying, right? But like, like specifically with Manny, because I will sit. There's only one movie that he and I ever agreed on not liking, and that was the Happy Time Murders. Because
Yeah.
I expected it to be better, and I don't know what Manny expected, but it didn't reach our standards, right? I was hoping the gags would be funnier, and unfortunately, the funniest gags you see in the trailers. I don't know if you saw that one yet. Have you
I did
seen?
watch it. I did watch it.
Yeah, what do you think? Did you think they sort of just killed everything by giving you all the best parts in the trailers, pretty much?
For the most part, yeah. It
Yeah,
for
right.
me
Like you,
for me for that film, that the gags were subpar. The plot itself was pretty standard. There wasn't
but
really anything.
but again, with
Go for it.
with one of those pulp detective movies or whatever, that's the plot. It
No,
doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's
exactly.
formulaic. I mean, if you
And
want to get into formula, look at the Marvel Universe itself. It is 100% formulaic. I mean, you could juxtapose almost any of the Marvel films right next to each other, and the story arc is exactly the same.
no, that's true. I'm not gonna deny that.
And it goes back even to Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. The story arc is pretty much the same, where there's the origin story, hero gets his power, da da da, meets the problem. It goes back to even just the hero's journey in general, which is usually is pretty much in films, like it's usually a 3-story arc. And George Lucas even said this when he did the original Star Wars. It is blatantly the Campbell wheel. Now, I don't know if you know the Campbell wheel. Campbell was, I can't remember exactly what he was. He may have been a historian or just a literary, like a literary professor or something like that. And he basically said that in every human story, every civilization, there's a hero's journey, where the hero starts off from someone who is naive and not knowing anything, and it goes through this whole cycle of gaining power, and then believing, having hubris, failing, coming back, and being victorious. And it's cyclical, right? And that is pretty much every single hero story said from from the moment we started recording stories. It is like it's in our mythologies from prior to Greek mythology to now, right? It's very ingrained, and it's something that keeps us still to this day as a species in general so enticed, right? It keeps us so interested and so just like it captivates us. That's why Star Wars was so successful. It's so formulaic and it's so basic, but it's so well done. That's why the Marvel movies are so. That's why the Marvel movies are so well received. They stick to that formula and it works, right? And
yeah, and I can't deny that formula. And like
well,
as you were saying,
it's a formula that we've used since we've told stories, right? It goes back to ancient times of us sitting around the fire, and that's how the story started with a hero, and it goes from there, right? I mean, then one could equate the heroes now to our myths and our gods, much like how the Greek myths were, right? There's all kinds of stories behind them, all kinds of different things around them, right?
yes, and to add on to that, everyone will always enjoy a story of like the ordinary person trying to achieve something through whatever means necessary to achieve that final goal or title. So it's something
it totally allows us to connect with the character of the story, right? I mean, the cool thing with Star Wars specifically is it puts us in that character. I mean, if you look at the original trilogy, we are Luke. We're following that journey. We're on that ride with them every step of the way, from the moment where he is just a farm boy on Tatooine to the point where he's the most powerful Jedi in the universe. Right? We follow that arc with him. We're right with him in that journey. And that's why Star Wars specifically is so captivating. Like, and I'm going mostly from the original trilogy because that's the one I love. Like, I like the newer stuff too, but for me, hands down, the original trilogy is the best in terms of the Star Wars universe. Hello?
No, sorry, I thought you were going to keep going.
No, I was done. My thought was done there.
All right. Yeah. No, and I will. No, I agree. I myself, one, it's probably a little bit of nostalgia for me as far as the original trilogy. For me, probably the prequels were a little bit more cringy, and I don't know. It felt. I don't know the best way to describe it. There's moments in the prequels that I enjoy, but that in itself is not in. I don't feel they're as powerful as the original three, and some of the newer ones aren't bad. I know they're getting a lot of criticism, but it is a continuation of the old generation and something for the new generation to come up. And I know I've been a little bit critical of it myself, but I've taken a step back to just enjoy them for what they are.
Well, here's the thing, specifically with the prequels, right? The whole Hayden Christensen ones and all that, is some of those movies were spent just dealing with intergalactic politics. Now, who cares? Right? George Lucas was trying to build this world and this whole thing of what it was, their intergalactic policies and all this, just a sort of preamble up into the whole thing. It's basic setup for stuff that we really just didn't need, right? And it is all because, if you think about it, because he really just started in the middle point of the story with the first trilogy. Yes. Now, with the newer ones, and what I love about the newer ones, and a lot of people don't, is the direction they took, especially in Last Jedi, right? I mean, let's be honest, Force Awakens was pretty much a remake of A New Hope in so many ways. I mean, beat for beat, it's the same film, in my opinion anyways. I'm sure your Star Wars fans on the show will probably not be too keen with me, or maybe they will. But yeah, like Dave's even made the joke. Dave and I have made the joke where we both said, yeah, if we want to see Force Awakens again, we'll just watch the original one because it's the same story. In many respects, it is. I mean, yeah. Han Solo plays. Yeah, beat for beat, it's the same. It has a lot of the same flavor of what the original is, just different character and better graphics. Here's the reason why it was so well received. It's what we wanted. That's why. It's exactly what we wanted. They gave us what we want, and now, and then because of the criticism I think they got with it for that one, The Last Jedi, it was like, it's the same movie, blah blah blah, whatever, and then they completely flip it on its head. I mean, hell, they killed Luke Skywalker, right? You're not sure whether or not Rey is gonna stay a hero now with the team up that she had with Kylo Ren. Is Kylo Ren a bad guy? All hell is pretty much broken loose in that universe, and it's crazy and it's awesome, right? And I'm strictly sticking with the films. I mean, I'm sure the Rebel Scum podcast guys and any other Star Wars podcast guys will probably tear me apart after hearing this. But I mean, sorry?
It leads into some very interesting conversations overall.
Exactly, and that's what you want. I mean, Star Wars is going to make its money.
That is true.
Disney is going to make its money. Disney is insane right now. I mean, what do they own? They own Star Wars. They own Marvel. I heard they were going to buy out Fox.
They're working on it.
Which is one of the reasons why I think all these Netflix shows are getting canceled. I mean, there's no more Daredevil, Punisher. They've already announced this is going to be its last season. The only one I haven't heard about is Jessica Jones. I mean, the only one that really deserved to get...
I think they canceled Jessica Jones, actually, too.
Oh, did they? See, what might end up happening is Disney in general is going to put up a Marvel streaming channel.
Actually, all the
Marvel products.
From what I've been informed, a lot of they're going to be moved from what my understanding, it's all being moved to the Disney streaming channel.
And they might not even do the same story arcs. They might change it, right? Or they could do a Disney Marvel thing, and it's a little bit more grown up. Who knows, right? I mean, because let's face it, with Disney, it's a lot of scrubbed down and a lot of squeaky clean stuff, right? You're not going to get a character like the Punisher on the Disney Channel.
That's true, or at least not the traditional Punisher.
Yeah. Oh, what was it? There was there was a Marvel cartoon that's geared to a younger group of kids, I think. And they had the Punisher on, and they had the guy who played the Punisher in Warzone. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. Right?
Wait for
and he voiced it. And it was actually pretty friggin' hilarious, like what they had him saying. Like they had a whole rant about Brussels sprouts and how they're the worst of the vegetables, like crime in. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to look at. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. I'm looking at him. He was part of... What show was this?
Ray Stevenson, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
He did like a little cameo on one of the... I think it was either Spider-Man or one of the Marvel cartoons that came out a while back, right? It's just a little cameo, a little bit about it, and he goes on about Brussels sprouts in being on your plate or something. It was hilarious just to hear that from a character like the Punisher.
That's ridiculous.
Superhero Squad show.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. Good.
Yeah, Superhero Squad show. Yeah.
That's a good way to kind of show the diversity of heroes. That's what's good now, is that we are able to share some of these more obscure heroes that we've never heard of, instead of
I mean, speaking of obscure heroes, have you seen? I just saw this today, actually, the Hellboy trailer for the new Hellboy.
Oh, you just watched it recently?
I just caught it. Like I said, I've been a little bit, behind the eight ball with certain things. So yeah,
okay.
I just caught it today, and I like it. I just miss Ron Perlman's voice.
Okay.
I love the look of him. I think it looks amazing, and I hope it's awesome. But I don't know, man. I guess it's just not having Ron Perlman's voice kind of just it's missing something, because that fucking voice that Ron Perlman has is so distinctive that I equate it to Hellboy. Right? When I heard David Harbour speak, I was like, oh. Right, it's not Ron Perlman this time. It took me out of it for like a second. I was like, wait a minute. No, it's not Ron Perlman.
You're not the only one. When I first saw it, I'm a big fan of the original Hellboy film, and
I love those movies. And the best part is, and like Hellboy is like one of the first comic book movies to be made of an obscure, completely unknown comic. I mean, I saw Ron Perlman say in an interview once where Guillermo del Toro comes up to him and says, well, listen to this, Hellboy. This is to give you an idea of how we did. We went from 600,000 readers to 1,200,000 readers, like to 1,200, no, sorry, 6,000 readers to 1,200 readers in in a time frame between the release of the movie the original one, right? So that gives you an idea of how like small of a market Hellboy had, right? Like they had like 1,200 people at the time knew what Hellboy was in the world, and now it's going to be one of the big movies of the year that coming up.
Oh god, yeah. Summer is going to be another blockbuster hit.
Yeah. Funny enough, like I said, this was the same interview I saw with Ron Perlman, and Patton Oswalt happens to be friends with Ron Perlman and David Harbour. And he sort of had a dinner, introduced them to almost like a passing of the torch thing. Right? Now,
Interesting.
For Ron Perlman, really, the whole character of Hellboy has a little bit of a sore spot for him because him and Guillermo del Toro worked tirelessly to try and get the third one made and finish that story arc. And he said, I have no ill will towards David Harbour and what those guys are doing. I hope it's successful, but it still hurts talking about Hellboy.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, I wanted to finish it. I wanted to, he's like, because I gave so much of myself and, time and effort to this character, and I was invested in this character for so long that now it's almost a little bit hard to see someone else take it. Right? I mean, hell, I honestly think Ron Perlman could have done it again. They should just ask them to do it, but that's myself. To me, Hellboy is Ron Perlman until I actually see David Harbour do the work. I mean, he's amazing in Stranger Things.
No, yeah, totally.
He's awesome. Like, he's a great actor. It's just that, oh yeah, it's not Ron Perlman's voice anymore.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. For a moment when I saw this trailer prior, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what was happening. I thought it was a fake, someone just making their own homemade one, like the internet does.
Oh yeah, the internet's notorious for that.
Once I finally watched it and everything, like yourself, I was a little bit struck for a moment because I did not realize it was a huge reboot. Hearing the struggles to try to come for the third one is rough, mostly since the second movie wasn't as good as the first, but you're trying to. Well, sequels don't always make it really well come from the first one.
To be honest, it's very rare for a sequel to outdo the original. I mean, the only one that comes to mind, and mostly because I watched the first one this morning, was The Godfather, where, in my opinion, the sequel is better than the original. And then there's a third one that ruins everything, but that's another story.
So, for this trailer in particular, there's one thing that kind of ruined it, and I want to get your opinion, because I don't know how many movie trailers you usually watch, but I feel that the music choice for it kind of ruined a little bit what the movie was trying to present itself. It just didn't fit right for this film. For at least what they were trying to.
Was it Phony Money by? It was Phony Money, right?
Yeah.
Money or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was cool, but here's the thing, right? I mean, sometimes the music choice for a trailer means absolutely nothing on how the film's going to be. I mean, we all remember the trailer to Suicide Squad.
No.
In so many respects, you don't?
No.
I don't know if they played it down in the States, but I know they played it here. And I think it's the same trailer, but it was cut to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Huh.
The entire trailer was cut to Bohemian Rhapsody. I get what you're saying. The music can, change everything. But here's the thing. They didn't use Bohemian Rhapsody really in the movie. It was just in the trailer, and it made the trailer look amazing. I thought it was going to be a fucking smash. But then I saw it, and I was like, okay, I mean, it's fun, but okay. All right, like me, who's a big Queen fan, they got me like instantly. Right, I was in, and then I saw the movie, and I was like, oh boy, like it's all right, but it's maybe like a one time in the theaters thing, because I have gone to see movies multiple times in theaters because I've liked them so much, and I'm trying to work out to go see Bohemian Rhapsody again because I love that movie so much. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that was a wonderful film. I really love the soundtrack
amazing.
to that.
I love Rami Malek's performance in it. It was just, it's amazing. So, funniest story about that is my aunt and uncle were actually at that Live Aid concert. So
Really?
they were at Live Aid. Yeah, they were there. They were at Live Aid. My uncle was telling me, he goes, honestly, I just remember the show kind of being bleh until Queen showed up. He was like, oh God, this is boring as hell. This show's going to suck. Because the bands were okay, but it's, you have to know how to play a stadium, right? And Queen was one of those bands that just crushed in front of a crowd because of just the kind of frontman Freddie was. I mean, there's a video from the 2012 Olympics, right, in London, and there's cuts of it and sort of edited into hologram form from Freddie's performance at Wembley Stadium, like in the late 80s, like right after they did the Live Aid concert. I think a year later on Queen's tour, they did at Wembley. And you know how he does that play with the crowd where he sort of just sings notes and the crowd sings it back to him?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they played that at I think it was the opening or closing ceremonies of the 2012 Olympics. And everybody in that stadium at the 2012 Olympics did it along with a recording. And it still had that same sort of impact that it would have if he was still there. Right, so that just gives you an idea of what kind of a frontman and how he just owned a crowd, and the crowds ate out of the palm of his hand. Like that, right? And so that's why that Live Aid performance in itself is a huge, huge deal. Because some would say it saved that whole thing, because that Live Aid thing was a huge deal, right? They were sending, food or something. They were sending aid to Africa, which, hell, Africa still needs it, but that was the first time it was ever in the public consciousness in any way, shape, or form.
Damn.
But yeah. So that Live Aid concert was huge, and yeah, my uncle said, he even said, oh no, nobody seems to be paying attention to it. It didn't seem like. He even said the show seemed like just okay until they just took the stage. Like he remembers who opened and the band before Queen, and then just Queen. That's all he remembers from that performance. That was like a 9 hours. It was like a 2-day festival.
Oh God! Never mind. I was about to say maybe that's not too bad, but wait, no, never mind.
There's like 20, 30 bands there. Like it was huge.
Damn.
But it just gives you an idea, like how. And did you know with that film specifically, like with Bohemian Rhapsody, that was their first day, was recreating the Live Aid performance. Oh yeah. If you look at YouTube videos of the actual Live Aid performance, and they did this, is they looked at every single movement, and it is an exact replica of the band movement for movement, from Freddie to Roger Taylor to Brian May to John Deacon. They do the exact same movements. They studied that performance specifically.
Hey, that's good
because
acting.
That's the one performance. It's not even just acting; it's just good preparation in terms for just the thing.
No, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, so first day of shooting, and I saw this in an interview for the film too, right? Where Brian May and Roger Taylor, the drummer and the guitarist and the drummer. Brian May is the guitarist for Queen, and Roger Taylor is the drummer. So, anyways, they were there and they're watching this. Brian May, for a split second, literally thought he was watching himself on stage. He was so confused.
Wow.
Because the guy they got to play him it looks so much like him. Like my aunt, who's a huge Queen fan, she even said, she goes, I can't believe how much he looks like him. Like she couldn't believe it because the actor they got to play him just looks so much like Brian May, and he did such a great job. So for that, like that was their first day of shooting before anything. That's the first thing they shot. So you start on that high energy level on a production. So it gives you an idea of what the rest of the thing's going to be, right? So that was pretty cool to see. And it's just, it was one of those things where they had maybe about, 100 people just in the crowd, and they obviously superimposed and did all kinds of movie magic to make it, 100,000 or however many fits Wembley Stadium there.
That is
right? So,
that is amazing.
yeah, yeah. You gotta look this stuff up, especially for this movie. I mean, I breathed this movie for about a week.
because it's not 100% a documentary. It is a film to demonstrate some of the key points in their career.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you're going into that movie for accuracy, just leave. Because it's not 100% accurate. I mean, for example, they, up the knowledge of Freddie being diagnosed till 1985 as opposed to when he told his bandmates in 1987. Right? I mean, before Live Aid themselves, they had been touring for about a few months. That Live Aid concert was at the end of their tour. Yes, they were one of the last bands to sign up, but they were already on a tour before they did Live Aid.
Damn. See?
So,
things like that. It's
little thing. And also Freddie Mercury was, I believe, the last member of Queen to have a solo album.
Really?
I mean, he was the last one. I mean, I can't remember if it was Roger Taylor or Brian May that had a solo album first. It could have even been John Deacon. But, yeah, Freddie was the last one. And just
cool.
his singing ability is beyond the charts. Like, Freddie's ability to sing was amazing. He had such a dynamic range that he actually toured with an opera singer for a while and sang opera. And even the opera singer couldn't believe that, this rock and roll singer could match what they were doing at the opera just because of how brilliant he was as a musician and as a singer in general.
Damn, nice. So you gotta love that. So, you're right. I want to see that film again. It's such a wonderful film to watch and to listen.
It was so well done. I mean, it was so well done. I mean, again, going back to the music, because that's how we ended up getting on this topic. I mean, the music alone captivates you with that movie, right? Just because it is Queen music, and our age group has grown up with Queen, mostly retroactively after the band has sort of, dissipated. I mean, there's no more Freddie, and, John Deacon's now since retired. Although Queen tours now with some other guy and Adam Lambert in those two roles. Mm-hmm, and I'm like, ugh. I saw one performance on the James Corden show with Adam Lambert as the singer, and I was like, no, this is wrong. It just felt wrong.
Damn.
I mean, he's got Freddie's flair, I'll give him that, but he cannot match his voice. And even then, like he's not as charismatic, I find, as Freddie Mercury was. Even like watching an interview with Freddie Mercury, he has this charisma about him, and he just owns the room, right? And that's so cool, right?
That is something he undoubtedly had. He just took the room the moment he walks in. He's one of a kind, to say the least.
And Rami Malek did that perfectly. Like, he nailed that.
Oh god, that just makes me want to watch it again just to.
Oh, dude, I want to watch it. I want to watch it again for sure. I keep trying to tell my girlfriend we should go see it, and she never has time for me. She's so busy. Her job keeps her working.
Damn.
Yeah.
So continuing on the topic of films, you watched a couple recently. Has any of the trailers piqued your interest for the coming films or anything that you remembered?
Which trailers?
Has any trailers just kind of kept with you and recently?
Oh,
Like any
dude,
trailer?
Endgame for sure.
Oh, that's a given.
Yeah.
We gotta finish it. You can't just leave on
Endgame
Infinity
for
War.
sure. The funny thing with Endgame is I think the original 6 are gone after it. Like, even contractually, they're gone. Because if you go looking at the Marvel movies in general, right? Out of the ones that were done out of Phase 1, who were the 3 that had their own standalone movies? Iron Man, Cap, and Thor, right? Those are the 3 originals that had their own standalones. I mean,
Yes.
You could count Hulk, but they never made a second Hulk.
True. Yes.
Right? Although the Ed Norton Hulk is counted in the MCU. All those story arcs are done. And Marvel only seems to have, aside from the Avengers films, a 3-movie story arc.
Besides
right?
Iron Man.
Well, no, Iron Man only had 3 movies. There isn't an Iron Man 4.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure there's an Iron Man 4.
No, it ends with the last one's with the Mandarin. And Civil War is Cap's. It's a Captain America movie.
Okay. Yeah. So the rumors is it's gonna have a new actor. Okay. Rumor that is of Iron Man 4.
That changes everything over, right? That's no longer, because those guys are contractually done. I mean, realistically, after Endgame, it almost makes sense to reboot a lot of things, but you can't really reboot Iron Man or Cap, right? You'd have to make them separate of the MCU at that point, because there's already so much history behind those characters, the way they've been developed in the MCU.
That is true. Well, as far as my knowledge at the moment, I knew that Chris Evans, his contract was done, and this is going to be his last portrayal of Captain America. So my thinking was that either Falcon or Winter Soldier was going to take the mantle of Captain America.
That is a possible thing, and it will fit with the way Marvel has been sticking as best as they could to the comics.
So I didn't hear anything. So I don't know about Chris Hemsworth. I thought he was still set for another one.
I think they're all done, realistically. I mean, the only one that I would want to see a standalone movie on is Black Widow, and that's mostly of my crush for Scarlett Johansson. But
I think we've all been waiting for a Scarlet Witch, Black Widow.
Even her too, though. Scarlet Witch should get her own character. And they should work in the Olsen twins as well. That way all 3 sisters can be on screen together.
Eh?
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen is the sister of the Olsen twins. Yeah.
That would be interesting. But
I'm just saying that as a joke. That'd be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. But you're right. I didn't really think about it that way. And I should really look into it a little bit more. Because we already kind of have an idea of what's going to be happening moving forward.
Well, Thor's story arc is done, right? Like, if you think about it, Thor's story arc is done. The last thing he has to do is just get revenge for Asgard and Loki.
Well, once he does that, he still becomes king of the new Asgard.
Yeah, but as far as the MCU is concerned, Asgard doesn't exist right now.
True. Unless they
right?
do the storyline where it becomes New Pittsburgh. If I remember that
Again,
right.
that
Someone
yeah,
out there, someone would correct me.
that's going into like proper comic book lore and all that, and who knows, they might do that, they might not. They might just end it there and have the Asgardians just live as martyrs. You never know, and that's the awesome thing is the trailer hasn't given much, and
That's good.
a lot of people have been very respectful in the sense of not digging for spoilers just yet. And I noticed even with Infinity War, there wasn't as many spoilers coming out as you would think, because everybody's on the same page with this, where they don't want to know until they get in the theaters.
True.
Right? I feel like that's the consensus across the board. Like, I'm not on the web, I'm not on the internet as much. I'm sure you're definitely on more often than I am. Like, would you say that was the case with that? Like, was it easy to find spoilers? Like, were the trolls really throwing it out there, or was it a little bit more held back than usual?
No, there was a lot of videos of speculations and leaks and stuff like
Speculation,
that.
though, right? But
Yeah.
you're getting that. I mean, you and I are doing it right now. We're speculating on what could happen, but a speculation is not a spoiler.
No, but the leaks
Right?
might be. That's the thing.
Exactly, and a lot of people I know were avoiding those like the plague. No
Oh
one
yeah.
was looking into those, right? I mean, even Manny, who likes reading up on that shit, stayed away from it because he just wanted to see what happened in theaters, right? I mean, Manny's on Reddit hardcore. That stuff will come across the screen all the time.
Oh God, no. It's rough these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's the other thing too. I mean, if you go looking at it specifically in the world we live in now, with all this infinite access to find stuff, there's just too much information, and it's ruined. And going back to your original question, way back in the interview here, it is ruining just how we view films because we expect so much, right?
Yeah,
and
that's true.
we know way too much about a movie going into it. Way too much about a movie going into it. Right? I mean, hell, before I saw Venom.
And that's kind of going back to your point of Batman v Superman, where we got introduced to our main villain at the end.
Oh yeah, but that was the studio's that was the edit house whoever did the trailer's fault. That was no one else's fault. That was a paid mistake. That wasn't a leak. That was a paid mistake. I mean, Warner Brothers refuses to work with that edit house now because of it.
Smart.
Right? They refuse to work with them because of that. But yeah, I mean, like, for example, I knew about Woody Harrelson's cameo in Venom before I went to go see it.
Really? I did not. I didn't know.
No, but you know what I mean? I knew about it before I went to go see it, and I just happened to come across it. I can't remember if it was on Instagram or something like that, and I literally see the scene put up because somebody posted it on Instagram. I was like, well, it was a week before the movie came out, too. I was like, well, fuck. You know?
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
bigger.
Right? It just crossed my path. I wasn't looking for it. You know what I mean? But it's like, and I wasn't too upset because it is what it is, and I've come to this thing of, yeah, I understand, and I don't get bothered by spoilers, but in the same note, it's a little bit of a, hey man, be cool, right? why do that to someone? But yeah, that was just my bad luck.
That sucks.
Yeah, but this is what we live in now, right? Everybody's throwing out spoilers. Everybody's like trying to get what's happening in a film before it even comes out.
Everyone wants to get their...
Kevin Smith said it once. He goes, there was a time when you struggled to get a poster for a movie. before the movie came out.
I still
and he's
struggle for a poster.
no, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
Because Kevin Smith's another big movie guy that I follow, and like I love a lot of his stuff. Right? I think I've seen almost all of Kevin Smith's movies. I love that guy. He's amazing, and so glad to hear that he's healthy and not dying.
that whole thing, that kind of spooked me as well.
Dude, I mean, he didn't even realize it. That's the worst thing. I don't know if you listened to Anna Faris's podcast, Unqualified. He was on an episode, right? And he told the story of that night. He was like, "Yeah, I didn't even realize I was having a heart attack till like I got to the hospital."
Oh, god damn, that is a scary thought. And well,
I just got really bad heartburn.
Actually, this is a random fact I learned the other day from one of my medical buddies. Apparently, an average of 26% of people having a heart attack don't know that they're having a heart attack. So about 1 in 4 people, and like, oh snap, that is not something that I want to know, kind of.
I can't remember where I heard this. I can't remember who said it to me, but they said that the person having a heart attack just feels like they have heartburn.
It scares me because I have frequent heartburn. Now it just spooks me.
Well, I don't know. It's something we all have to do is change our eating habits. Let's be honest here, man.
No, I'm not gonna lie.
You and me, I know I'm bad. I can only guess, right? Just because of the fact that we're into the same stuff, so I can only assume we're into the same junk food too. Yeah. Mind you, you live in the States, you know a lot better junk food.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, sometimes. Except for ketchup chips, you guys dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, I didn't know, and I just got into a conversation the other day that you guys don't have, what was it, Cookie Crisps, and I'm like, what?
Not anymore. No, we used to have them. It was funny. They dropped a lot of stuff from ours, and I think it's just something that's in the recipe for Cookie Crisp that is not okay here with the Canadian food health standards.
I find that hilarious.
Exactly, but they're giving it down there. Another thing, anytime like my girlfriend goes to the States, I always make her get me 2 boxes of Trix.
Trix as well? What?
Yeah, they've cut Trix away from us, man. I have to come down to your end of the world to get Trix. I gotta come down to the States. I'll take trips into Buffalo just to get a box of Trix.
You gotta tell me a little bit more of some of the differences we kind of.
Oh, what differences between Canada and the U.S.?
Yeah,
like blatant differences.
Well, things that you've noticed. Let's go with that.
Well, the main thing too, and again, I was watching AMC today, and I had a lot of U.S. commercials on the station, but all these medical insurance ads and all that shit, we don't have to worry about that, obviously, which I still think is the biggest thing that, like, sorry to get political, but anyways, I still think is the biggest thing from specifically the Obama administration that wasn't as well explained as it should be to the public, and it could be based on the facts that the Republican Party just didn't want it to happen. Because if you go looking at it specifically, now I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes or anything like that. I mean, I'm nor Democrat nor Republican because it's not my political system. But in terms of universal health care, it is something that a nation as advanced as the States should have, and they don't.
I'm not gonna lie there. That's that's something a lot of people have said, and it's something that's strange because there's a lot of countries around the world that have this universal health care for their people.
Cuba being one of them. You know what I mean? Cuba being one of them. I mean, if you go looking at it, the quality of life in America compared to the quality of life in Cuba, there's a big difference. But why is it that? Here's the thing, though. I mean, and I've found this, and I've had this conversation with a lot of my family members that live in Indiana, for example, who I know a few that are Trump supporters, which is fine. And if you're a Republican, I understand you chose your candidate. But here's the thing. I mean, what are you giving up? And that's what I can't understand it. Again, I'm also not someone who has grown up in the U.S. system, and I don't get it. A lot of things I don't get, and sometimes when I do get on this topic with family in the States, specifically politics and stuff like this, I have to ask a lot of questions because I don't understand some of the decisions that are made, and I'm sure a lot of other people don't either. But the truth is, the end all and be all is that every person deserves health care. That's a huge difference. Yeah, bottom line, that's the biggest difference I've noticed between up here in Canada and you guys in terms of anything. Like with our foods, I will say there's a lot more different types of chains of fast food restaurants. I mean, hell, you have different burger joints across the country depending on where you are, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. I drive
you have White Castle on one end and, you know, another chain on the other end of the country. But as far as like just quality of life, that's one of the biggest things that the U.S. system needs to figure out, and sooner rather than later. Right? I mean, and a lot of this, yeah.
No, I can't.
Go ahead, sorry.
I can't disagree with you on that, because to kind of keep my point short, I know a lot of people and a lot of family members that will refuse to go to the hospital for any treatment, or not any treatment, but the least serious to minor ones, just to avoid the cost, because it can ream you in the long run without proper.
Hugely. I mean, like, for example, to bring it back to a Manny story, a while back, Manny dislocated his pinky one night playing soccer.
Oh, God.
Right? Yeah. Here's the thing, though. If we were where you are, how much would that set Manny back?
Let me answer you that a little bit.
Just ballpark it, right? It's huge. It's big money.
So right? if you called an ambulance, it's gonna run you.
No, I drove him. I drove him into the hospital. So just showing up at a merge and getting your finger reset after being dislocated.
I remember a checkup is about $300. So when you check in, it's already $300.
That's $300 there in the bag, right? That's all this money that's just being wasted.
And then I think a doctor will run you $1,000, so that's
$1,300 alone, and he hasn't even been touched yet by a doctor. No. Just getting in for an appointment, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing: we were in and out the same night, and that was it, right? Neither of us were handed a bill or anything like that. So that's the difference, right? You can go in and you get taken care of right away. Again, I don't mean to get political, and I really don't want to, but this is something I have a conversation with my family in the States about, because they bring it up to me a lot, and they say, what's the biggest difference? And I say, this is. And it's the most important difference, and it's something I'm really adamant about.
Hey, and
yeah.
No, you're more than welcome for your thought. This is I'm more than happy to hear someone out. Whoa, okay. So the procedure just to get that pinky back into place will run you between $250 to $950. Damn.
Yeah. That's insane. That's insane that it costs a person that much money just to get something that takes literally 5 seconds worth. Because what's going to happen is someone's just going to do it right there on the field.
Yeah.
Instead of go to the doctor.
Like my my thing would have been we just put a splinter on it, and that's it. That's it for the day. It's $500 to just sit in the emergency room. Nice.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, well, even look with Manny's ankle. He'd probably be like huge medical bills just to get what he's got going on there, right? Because he's got some like Achilles tendon issue right now, and he's getting that all sorted. But I mean, the poor guy's not had a great 2018, let's say. But to be honest, if he was living in the States, it'd be even worse. Because then he'd be in medical debt. And it's insane how much it's like, for example, like even my dad has some medical issues, and I'm sure, getting his stuff taken care of friggin' is through the roof in the States. Whereas here, not so bad. That's why someone once made the joke to me about Breaking Bad. If it was set in Canada, it'd be about a 5-second show.
Damn. Wait. Wait. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was trying to remember the original point.
It would literally start off there and be like, oh, yeah, by the way, Mr. White, you have cancer. Anyways, your treatment starts Tuesday morning. We'll see you here at 9 a.m. Oh, okay. And that's it. Right? That's the way it is here.
That's true.
I know. Yeah, but in the States, it becomes a question of, can I afford to live or die? And that is something that no person, I don't care where you live, should have to make that decision. All right? Can I afford to eat this month? Or should I, suffer and feed my family? And that is something that I can't understand for the life of me why people can't get.
I don't know.
Whatever side of the political spectrum that you're on, that's something you should understand as a human being in general.
And this is
weird.
So this is my thought. Not just like in the overall political atmosphere. A lot of people just don't put the time and effort to understand everything. They just hear the bullet points, but don't understand the general things. Me myself have not really spent too much time delving into some of these things. It's only until recently that I've put some effort to understand just some of the few things that are really spilling out. And
yeah, well, did you make an effort this past election? Because I know you guys had an election recently.
Kind of. I saw it more of as a really, really weird game show.
Oh, but that is what, I'll be honest with you, from my end of things up north, that is what the political system in the States has turned into lately.
It sadly is. I'm not going to lie. It's another day of Survivor.
It's spilling over in many respects to where I live in Ontario.
Do explain.
Oh yeah, read up on the doofus that's our new premier. And I hope he hears this. But
wait! I think you guys made a point about this one of your episodes.
We have mentioned on the show. Well, the joke around here is that he's Trump light, but this guy's an idiot. Do you remember when you remember hearing stories about the crackhead mayor of Toronto?
Wait, yes, I've heard about him.
Yeah, read up on the crackhead mayor. The premier of our province is his brother. And this guy's not very bright, but he seems to think he can do things. But I feel like he's going to be, for example, I think we have mentioned it on our show before too, where he went in terms of talking about sex education. I don't know how the sex education system works where you are, but the previous government in Ontario tried to change it and update it, make it a lot more internet savvy in terms of understanding how something you put up on the web is there forever. So this genius, because there was a mention of, transgenders, it was a very, very conservative guy, this guy. So he decided to abolish that and bring back and have the Ontario teachers teach the sex ed curriculum from 1998.
Really? Huh.
Before the internet was a big thing.
Interesting. Interesting.
It's the sex ed curriculum I went through, and not gonna lie to you, most of my information that came for sex ed came from porn, because fuck, I didn't learn a goddamn thing in those classes.
I don't think anyone really learned anything from those classes.
But this is the problem, though, right? I mean, specifically that, and it drives me nuts too that we live in a society, specifically here in North America, because if you go to Europe, it's a different ballgame in many respects. But here in North America, we have a problem with showing tits on a screen, but we can fucking show a guy getting shot in the head. True. What's worse out of the two? Right? I mean, if you go thinking about it, a violent movie, if it doesn't have swearing, will get a PG-13 rating. If it shows boobs, it'll get an R rating. How does that make sense? Even if it doesn't have swearing, like, how does that make sense?
I can't give you an answer to that, man.
Another huge difference too is our rating systems too. I find in Canada it's a little bit more lenient in terms of things that are shown. So, for example, here in Canada, after 9 p.m. pretty much you can show almost anything on television.
Really?
So oh yeah. So for a while, like a regular network here in Canada would show episodes of The Sopranos back in the day, and they did not cut anything.
Wow.
Nothing. You saw everything. That includes the nudity, that includes the swearing, that includes the violence. Yeah. So that's a huge difference too. I mean, we aren't as, I want to say, uptight about certain things as you guys are in the States. A little bit more relaxed. But that's also because, I'm going to make a weed joke. That's because weed is completely legal across the country now, which is weird and crazy and interesting as fuck. But yeah.
No, yeah. And I get it. Well, it's legal here in our state of Oregon too, so.
Which is funny enough, even if it's legal in the states, like the state I would visit, I technically couldn't bring it with me across the border because it's not legal across the whole state.
Yeah, like, that's a weird thing, right?
Yeah, if I wanted to, like, say, come visit you, I couldn't have anything on me crossing the border. But once I get there, I can buy whatever the fuck I want. And then literally going home, I can buy whatever the fuck I want. I mean, we have it, like, it's set up. I don't know how it is set up over there. Do you have, like, actual delivery service where it just comes right to your door?
What? No, I gotta go to it.
Oh, my poor boy. I could literally order it online, and within a few days, my package just comes to my door, like Amazon.
Damn, lucky.
Yeah, it's called the Ontario Cannabis Store, like in the province of Ontario, and I think it's actually every province has it where you literally order it online. I believe the last little while, the orders they've had trouble keeping up with orders. Since it's been legal now for a few months.
So wait, does yours guys run through the government, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's completely government. A lot of it's government operated. I do believe in our province, though, it's going to be privatized as well. Okay. The city of Mississauga that I live in will not have weed stores in it. They've said they don't want to have any stores in the area, but there's like a town, like 2 towns over, they do. So really, it's inconsequential, right? So, and literally, I don't even have to leave my house anymore to buy weed.
So we're right here in my area. We have like three places. So it's like heavily monetized. Why can't I speak? It's all private, so it's hard. You get different weed prices for different things, which sucks.
Which, you know what, it sucks in a way, but also I feel like it allows for better competition, and in many respects, Also, better quality of weed because you're gonna pay more top dollar for better shit than if you go buy the cheap stuff.
That is true. I hope my
And it
plants make it
allows
through
you
the winter.
exactly. It allows you to shop around though too. In terms of that, right? Like up here, we're allowed to have 4 plants at a time currently under the new law.
3 plants
Right.
per household?
Four plants per household.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're allowed 3 plants per adult per household.
I might be wrong. Like it's been a while since I've done the weed research. Anyways, I think it was per household. It could even be per person. So
It's
I'm
been a
not
while.
sure.
This is back when
Yeah.
it was getting interesting. But
Well, yeah. The law was passed on October 17th. Now it's been a few months that it's been legal. I mean, and nothing's changed. The biggest fear here was, oh, everybody's going to be ridiculous with it, and it's going to cause all kinds of potheads walking around. The only big change was Manny's more of a doofus than ever. But other than that, no, this doofus. I don't know if you heard on the episode of the podcast. So I had a Halloween party at my place. That doofus got himself so high or whatever, he had no recollection of how he got home. Now, had he been pulled over, yeah, I don't know what he did. Had he been pulled over, I would have been liable because he was at my house.
Interesting. I didn't.
I don't know how the laws work, but that's why bars will cut someone off, right, and call them a cab or take away their keys, is because the bar then becomes liable for allowing a person to drive home drunk. It works the same way with weed, or the same thing with parties, right? If somebody leaves your house from a party and they're drunk or whatever, you are liable. I literally said, Manny, if I knew that, I would have called the cops and said, here's this guy, he's driving impaired. I don't want to take responsibility for his stupidity. And that's it.
Hey, cover your butt.
Exactly, man, because that's just not cool, right? But that's Manny, though, and for some reason I still like him.
Well, so it's been a while since you guys have had legalized weed now. And
it's been a few months. It's
I know.
It's not
we've had it for
bad as people thought it was going to be.
No, same here with this. With when Oregon got it for about a year now. It's about a year now.
Oh,
I don't really. For me, I'm like I am overall not a big. I don't smoke it that I'm more of a social smoker. So
dude,
I don't.
I'm not even like I'm barely that. Also, right? That was never a huge thing for me. I mean, for my brother, it was a huge deal. My brother is a big smoker, and he really enjoys smoking. And to be honest, he really was really excited about it, and he's also been responsible with it too. So realistically, it all depends on how you handle yourself around it. It's just like alcohol in that respect, right?
Mm-hmm,
you have to know your limits. You have to know, hey, maybe I shouldn't be, getting behind the wheel after, doing this or anything like that. It's just it's being an adult, which I find even a lot of adults don't do.
No, yeah,
right?
no, I totally agree with you on that point. It's just like you said, it's knowing your limits, knowing what and what not to do to get yourself in any of these very probably hazardous situations. It's better just to keep yourself away from any dangers from yourself and others.
Yeah, it's just I don't see the need for it. It's just, again, that's just the way I am. But
I don't know.
Whatever,
but man. Even with that, like even though like when I do socially smoke, luckily the type of weed I get it's the least hallucinogenic ones. It's more of the calm. I forget the difference. It's like the Fuck.
Well, I don't know if there's hallucinogens in it. That might
No.
be something a little bit extra. But
Yeah.
there's the indica and the sativa strands.
There
Tell
you
me
go.
which
That's
is
what I meant.
which.
That's what it is. Yeah, my buddy is a big,
But
huge guy.
yeah,
So
one strand specifically is meant to make you alert, and another one's supposed to relax you and sort of just chill you out. Here's the
yeah,
thing,
that's
though. A lot of it now is, in many respects, a lot of it's hybrid because you can't get like a pure indica or a pure sativa anymore. They just don't exist. I mean, you can get ones with higher concentration of the other, but as far as a pure strand, that doesn't exist anymore, just over the years of breeding and crossbreeding and changing and making this and
yeah.
making that. And there's all kinds of different strands. There's all kinds of different, well, I
Tell
don't
me
know,
about it.
strands or different types. Like, I don't even know that much. I'm just going, basically remembering the little bit of research I did for our weed episode on No Inner Monologue. This is all just off of memory from what I read back then. That was, again, a few months back. But yeah, I mean, it was, and they even did send out like little pamphlets about how to get yourself weed if you want it here before it came legal. So you got like a little card from the government telling you this is how you buy weed now. You don't have to sit in somebody's car smelling of whatever and wait and have that awkward exchange anymore.
Damn, that's ridiculous. I could never imagine the government just like, here, this is where you get your weed. Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it was a little card saying, hey, this is where you get connected to buy your stuff.
All right, so we're kind of getting to the. All right, so we're kind of getting to that point where we're getting to the end.
Okay.
So we're gonna close. We're gonna close it up. So we're gonna do the last two portions of the show.
Ooh.
So first is a little story time. So this is the Convoluted Podcast. So we usually like to ask our guests for one of the strangest, weirdest, most convoluted thing that has ever happened, you have ever done, or you have ever encountered in your life.
I don't know about convoluted, but there's one
just
story.
Something weird.
Or just something crazy. Okay. So there's this one story, going back to what we were just talking about before we moved on to story time. But this was back, I want to say I was still in college, and it was my buddy's birthday. Now, I had been working that night, so I got to bar a little bit late. Now, again, after I went on my whole little rant about being responsible, I did exact opposite of what I just told you and your audience. And so I drank a lot. And then next thing I know, we're like, now my house did happen to be like literally behind the bar. I was like, shit, I got to get the car home. So I made the worst decision I could ever make. Got the car home though, thank you, safely. Thank God. But anyways, then we're all like, so before all this, we're all like, yeah, we want to go hotbox. I'm going to change the name up, Steve's car, right? It's not his actual name, but anyways. Like, yeah, okay, how about we just take my car back to my house, and then we'll do it on my street. Like, okay, cool. So we all do that. We get to my place. And so then I put my car in the driveway, lock it, move on, go into Steve's car there. And we started doing it, and one of the guys goes, man, I got to take a leak. And then all of a sudden, we all decided we had to pee. So one guy out of the four of us, me and my buddy whose birthday it was, we decided to pee on a fence close by to the car. these other two geniuses decide they're going to pee on somebody's porch. Doesn't a porch light come on? So one guy dives into the bushes. Another guy just runs, I don't know where. So then we all sort of convene back to the car or whatever. Start smoking, start hotboxing. And next thing we know, not one, but two cruisers pull up next to us. So cop goes up to the driver's side door. Buddy rolls down the window. He gets that cloud of smoke and he makes that face like when somebody, like, you know, when a cloud of smoke hits you, he's like, whoa. And I could tell he thought it was very strong because he had one of those like taken aback looks, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, I had the joint with me. And I was like, fuck. I found a Tim Hortons, which I don't know if you guys have Tim Hortons, but it's a coffee chain here in Canada. I literally put it in like a old Tim Hortons cup that had like maybe 2 drops of coffee left in it, let it go out or whatever, and just put it on the floor of the car. He's like, all right, boys, get out. So we're lined up there. It's freezing. This is the middle of February, mind you. And we're watching, and so these cops start searching the car. They start talking to my buddy. My buddy's like, look, man, like, we were just hanging out. It's our friend's birthday. We're not doing anything. Like, it's okay to smoke here, but you can't obviously possess or anything. That was the law then anyways. Right? And he's like,
Okay.
So, little to my knowledge, but the guy whose car it was happened to be a dealer at the time, and he had, I want to say, 32 grams in that car alone. Yeah, he had a lot of weed in the car. And he kept it in this grimy old looking thermos. So they say that because so one cop was searching the car and then another one was talking to us, and Mike's just sticking to the same story. Sorry. Whatever. Anyways, so he's sticking to the same story, and we don't talk. We just let him do all the talking, right? And so when finally the other cop starts asking questions from the car, and before that though, he sees the thermos, and he's got the thermos. He's shaking it. He's inspecting it. At this point, all 4 of us, our hearts are in our throats because we see him just like staring this thermos down hard. And the next thing we know, he sees the poker chips that's on the seat there in the back seat. And he's like, what's in here about the poker chips? And he's asking every single question that you could think of about the poker chips. The thermos is no longer in his thought of mind. He opens up the poker chips. There's nothing in there. The cops say to us, all right, boys, have a good night. Go home. And that is the craziest story I got.
Damn.
And then we went to like another parking lot, finished hotboxing the car and called it a night. But, and at that point, we were just sort of chill. And then also, funny enough, now I just remember this. After we did that, we went to the McDonald's, and then another cruiser comes up to us and starts asking us questions. And we're like, and the cop's like, where have you guys been? Nothing, man. We were at the bar. Buddy's our DD. We're just at McDonald's right now grabbing some food, and then we're going to go home. That other cop didn't say anything after that, and then he just left.
There you go. Damn, dude.
Yeah, that's the crazy story I got, yeah. What
a tale. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. I'll probably get in a lot of trouble for that one.
Oh, God. That is a very, like... Oh, I can only imagine just being put in such a situation where...
Oh, the worst thing was I was so high, I was completely oblivious till I saw the guy hanging onto that thermos for a good what felt like 4 years.
God.
It felt like an eternity, but it could have been 3 seconds because honestly, when he started asking questions about those poker chips, the four of us all just, under our breaths went, like,
you made it out of that one.
I had no idea how much was in the thermos, though. That was the worst thing. Only to be told afterwards. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, God. That is... that just is... That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, then. So let's move on to the next part, the game show portion.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Intro music here.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Alrighty.
Joey, you decided to play Love Match. For anyone listening, Love Match is, it's based off the old game show Love Match, where I will be presenting Joey with 3 lovely ladies, and they each have some very interesting qualities, but there's this one big red flag that you might have to take into consideration when picking one of these 3 lovely ladies.
So like all of my ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, possibly. Alright, so let's get started. So, our first contestant, her name is Sandra. So, Sandra has a genius level IQ.
Okay.
And she also owns a pair of portal guns.
Like Rick and Morty portal guns?
I'll let you be the judge of that one.
Let's go with Rick and Morty portal guns, so we'll end up in like different dimensions. Sounds like fun. Alright.
Alright, our second contestant is Kelly. Kelly, for as long as you're dating her, you are a wizard.
Well, that's a bonus. Alright.
And on top of that, you are the best sex they've ever had. And will continue to have as long as you're dating them.
Okay.
And lastly, Jessica. Jessica is a millionaire, and her breasts lactate your favorite beer or alcohol of your choice.
Those sound bad. Where's the bad part?
Just wait. So at the just wait.
Oh, there's a third thing.
There's a third thing for each. Yeah, there's a third thing for each. But at the moment, who's piquing your interest? Is it our portal owning Sandra? Is it our wizardly Kelly? Or our millionaire Jessica? Who's kind of piquing your interest at the moment?
It's most likely the wizard one. Probably Kelly's what's got me going right now.
All right. Let's continue on. So we'll start with Kelly then. So as long as you're dating her, you'll be a full-fledged wizard, and she thinks you're the best sex that she's ever had.
All right, that's a win.
The thing about Kelly,
oh boy,
she is a serial killer.
Okay, but I'm not the one she's trying to kill.
You don't know that.
Okay, so I could be on the list. All right.
Moving on, let's go with our millionaire Jessica. She looks exactly like Jabba the Hutt. Yes, that card just got pulled. Millionaire.
Yeah.
Breasts that lactate your favorite alcohol. Looks like Jabba the Hutt.
Okay.
And then lastly, Sandra. Genius level IQ, portal gun on her side. The thing is, when you're out and about in public, she likes to splash red paint and scream enslavement on people walking their dogs.
Yeah, no, this is actually a little too easy. It's probably Kelly.
Really? Damn.
Oh yeah, man, I could live with trying to be killed.
Like normal marriage.
Exactly. That just sounds like a marriage. On top of it, I get to be a wizard. That's a win-win.
All right, if that's how. Go ahead and kind of explain your thought process. Why one over the other?
Well, there's good sex involved. First of all, I mean, wizard. The serial killer thing. That's every woman I've been with. So they'll try to kill me regardless. But yeah, well, Jabba the Hutt thing. I was considering Jessica until I found out about Jabba the Hutt. Let's face it, I'm superficial. I'm not denying that. And what was the problem with Sandra again?
She loves splashing red paint and screaming enslavement at people that walk their dogs.
Just because she's not considering the fact that, maybe the dog is the one that's enslaving. She's thinking about it all the way wrong. I mean, think about it. Dogs really don't do anything. They have to hang out and do fuck all. They get fed. They get the exercise. Realistically, who is enslaving who in that situation?
Alright. Then Kelly's your girl.
Oh yeah.
So ding ding ding, there you go. You are now a wizard with a serial killer date. Ding ding ding.
Yeah, it's not so bad. Could be worse.
It could be worse, trust me. I've seen some weird cards there. So, okay. Alright, Joey, thank you for joining me.
Alright, man. Thank you. It's been fun.
At this point, I would like you to, take the time to, shout out anything you like.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, check us out here at No Inner Monologue. I can't speak now. It's getting contagious. Check us out here at the No Inner Monologue podcast. You can hear us on SoundCloud, Google Play. What else is there? Apple iPodcasts or Apple Podcasts, and as well as Pod Addict, Castbox. We're on Instagram at No Inner Pod. You can catch Manny's crazy ramblings on Twitter at No Inner Pod as well. I don't know if he's been saying some things lately. I would check that out. And you can find us on Facebook at No Inner Monologue.
All right, there you guys go. Go check them out. Yeah. I highly recommend them.
Yes.
And as always, yes. And as always, you're always welcome to come back to my show.
I appreciate it. I know I'm a little bit hard to get a hold of, but that's me just being ridiculous.
All right. I want to thank everyone for listening and checking us out. As always, you can find us here on Podbean. You can always find us on Google Play, on iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere where podcasts can be found. And also you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Hey everybody, my name is Grant, and I host a podcast called It's Trivial. Now, It's Trivial is a game show in which I pit comedians, musicians, podcasters, and other interesting people against one another, usually in front of a live audience for the sake of public ridicule. Hope you'll check it out. There's something there for everybody. There's stuff for people who like movies, music, history, geography, comic books, and even more. Be sure to give me a follow here on social media on Instagram and Twitter at It's Trivial Show, and check out the entire first season of It's Trivial now in your favorite podcast app. Thanks.